So here's a true story. My wife wanted to go jogging one day, and because she couldn't find her own headphones, the most logical thing for her to do is steal my AirPods. This of course gave me a problem because I too wanted to get some workout done. I didn't really have anything else that was comparable to my AirPods. I only had over-the-ear headphones, which would suck if you plan on sweating at all. This basically set me on a path to find a good substitute without breaking the bank. Something that's decent enough that can keep me, in the zone. Fortunately, two companies sent over their wireless earbuds for me to test out. This one is made by Tautronics. This is the Sound Liberty 79, and this one is made by a company called Holy Hi. Both of these retail for under 50 bucks, which is basically what I was looking for as a replacement for my AirPods, for days when my wife decides to steal them. They're both completely wireless earbuds meant to be used for activities such as working out or running. So I was able to test both of these for a couple weeks just to see which one is the better buy at this price point. And one of them is actually one of my favorites. In a previous video, I really like what Tautronics offered in terms of over-the-ear headphones, which were the SoundSearch 55. They were actually surprisingly good for the price. The ANC was actually really impressive. So I'm hoping that these are just as good or maybe even better. And if you look at the size between this and the AirPods Pro, they're actually not that far off. This is actually a little bit slimmer, but a tad bit longer. The case itself is actually pretty nice. It feels hefty. For some reason, when I feel something this heavy, I immediately think quality. And I think you know what I mean. It doesn't feel plasticky at all, even though it's mostly plastic. Very discreet logo up in the front. When you open it up, that's when it starts to feel kind of, I don't know, maybe cheap. But then what can you expect for this price range? You have the battery indicator right here, in which case this has, I think, 2 charges left. So there's 4 LED lights right there. When you open them up, you are presented with a rather nice looking pair of earbuds. Honestly, I think they look really nice. They're very small, obviously. They actually feel pretty solid. So this one's the right, and this one's the left. I like that. Oh, it's actually playing music right now. It is playing through my iPhones. I do like the logo. Can't really tell what material this is. It's kind of rubbery. There is a gold tip. It's not necessarily a button. I know it looks like a button. At first I thought it was a button, but it's not. These earbuds are touch sensitive, so we'll get to that in a second. You have your little ear hooks right here. They give you different sizes as well as different ear tips. These don't necessarily do anything for me. I mean, the way my ears are shaped, it's kind of just hanging out there. They do look good. They don't look that cheap to me. The weight is nice. It's really, really tiny. And in the case itself is actually nice too, because you can definitely fit this in your pocket. Also, it has a USB-C charging port, which is really nice. I think everyone would agree that most devices should be using USB-C by now. I don't think it's magnetic at all when you drop them in there. Oh, it is actually. It is magnetic. Kind of just sits there with little magnets. Very easy to throw in the bag or in your pocket. And now we get to the Holy Hi's, and holy moly, this thing is kind of big. I don't like the logo. It doesn't look premium at all. The name doesn't sound premium. To compare it to the AirPods Pros, these are significantly bigger. Not much to say about the case other than it feels cheap, feels very plasticky. It definitely feels like one of those, I don't know, like really cheap knockoffs. Whatever, you can probably just throw this in the gym bag and wouldn't even really care. Although I do like how it's sized in the sense that you won't really lose them. But then again, also when you open them up, you can see why it's much bigger, because the design of the earbuds themselves, they've got that hook design. They're very similar to I would say the Beats Pro, because I've tried those myself, and I actually like this type of design. I find them more comfortable, just more secure because of the ear hooks, but we'll get to that in a second. Also held by magnets. You just drop them in there and you'll see them start charging. It does have an LED indicator in the front. It's just one that basically tells you if it's charging. These are definitely bigger, so I don't know if that's going to be a problem for you or not. Not really for me. It's just that you can't put this in your pocket. I mean, you can. I mean, your phones are bigger than this, but still. It's like carrying two phones. Or no, it's like carrying a phone and a pager. Remember those? Also, this does not have a USB-C charging port, which is annoying. It's still the mini USB. I'm not the only one who goes like trying to figure out how it actually fits in there. I've got to say though, even though this one is really cheap looking and feeling, the earbuds themselves don't share the same quality. I think they look much better in terms of just design and feel, you know, compared to the casing where it sits in. They also include different sized rubber tips. It has a clicky button here. These are not touch sensitive. And I also like how there's no logo on it. If you look at it from the side, it's a little thick. But yeah, overall, I think these are good looking headphones. Without the case, I would look at these and be like, those look kind of nice. So now I think we should talk about the way you control these things. So again, these are the Sound Liberty 79s by Taotronics. The way they sit in the ear is kind of weird for me because it basically relies on almost like that vacuum once you shove them inside there, because of depending on the size of the ear tips. I've tried the different sized ones, and like I said, the little hooks that they provide don't really do much for me regardless of what size that I choose. As for the ear tips though, these are the best ones for me, but they still give me that sense like they might fall off. Even though they surprisingly don't, they just don't feel secure. I feel like I'd be checking it all the time when I'm running or when I'm working out, which poses a problem because of the controls. Since these are touch sensitive, remember, every time you graze them or you touch them, they trigger a response somehow. Right now it's changing the volume, which I'll get to in a second. As good as they look, and being a touch responsive device, kind of impressive, a little bit frustrating to use if I'm being honest. You basically tap them to increase the volume. That's right, you tap them to increase the volume, and then you tap the left one to decrease the volume, which is, I guess, okay. But then when you want to play something, you have to double tap it. And remember, this doesn't have any haptic feedback or any clicky sound. It's really just a tap. So you have to be really intentional when you tap it. You have to, and sometimes it still doesn't work. One tap to the right is volume up, one tap to the left is volume down, two tap is play, and two tap is pause. You see where I'm getting here. 3 intentional taps to play next song, and 3 to go back a track. I tried it so many times, I can't just like tap it like really quickly. It has to be very intentional. So that is my biggest problem with this. Also, if you tap and hold, that enables Siri in my iPhone. I would be very wary to jog around with this and not constantly check and accidentally tap it. Okay, now moving on to the Holy Highs. Put them inside your ear canal and then you twist it to make sure that it actually sits on your ear. It's there, it's secure. And the earbuds themselves, they stick in my ear canal. And so it has a really good seal. And because of the ear hooks, it doesn't feel like it's gonna fall at all. I could be tumbling, I could be swimming if I wanted to. Kind of thick. I think they look good, but they do stick out. And because they're clicky, it actually has a clicky button right here, a very tactile button. You don't have to worry about accidental touching or, you know, engaging something. And the controls are much more intuitive. One click is to play and pause, double click to the right is the next song, and double click on the left is the previous song. If you click and hold to the right, you increase the volume, which is nice. click and hold the left, you decrease the volume. Triple clicking either one basically activates Siri. So let's talk about performance. These Taotronics, the Sound Liberty 79s, are rated at 8 hours of use, continuous use. With the charging case, you can extend that to up to 40 hours. So another cool thing about this is it's actually rated at IPX8. If you don't know what those ratings are, I actually looked it up for you because I didn't know what they were. IPX8 means that the device can survive immersion in water deeper than 1 meter. Usually up to 3 meters. In essence, you can actually swim with these. Although I wouldn't, mainly because of the fit. If I'm just walking around, I feel like it's going to fall. It's probably going to get lost when I swim. They said that you can use just one of these in your ear if you want to just use it for calls as a Bluetooth earpiece, which means that when you take one out when you're playing music, it doesn't automatically pause the music, just not like the AirPods would. It also says that it uses AI technology to somehow make the calls clearer. I've actually tested this, and according to the person I was talking to on the other line, they do sound clear. Now, as far as sound goes, they sound neutral. The regular AirPods has a little bit more bass. This doesn't. I feel that at max volume, it sounds like it's just at 60%, at least for me. If I want to listen to anything, I would have to crank it up to max volume. If I'm running or working out, sometimes you're breathing, your heart's like thumping in your ear, you want to hear loud music. This just doesn't get loud enough for me. The Holy Highs, on the other hand, first of all, they're IPX7 rated, which means the device can survive immersion in water of up to 1 meter. My regular AirPods were rated at IPX4, I think. And so running with them, sweating, while wearing them should never be a problem for these. And I would definitely trust the fit of this more than the other one if I should find myself in water. The sound that it makes when you put them in your ear, it's kind of cheap, if I'm being honest. First impressions were definitely like, ugh. This also doesn't pause the music if you take one out of your ear. But again, I have to stress how comfortable they feel. 5 hours of playtime, and with the battery, you can charge them up to 6 times. Now, the sound of these is surprising. I actually prefer these over the Taotronics by a mile. They sound really good, surprisingly. I would compare them to my AirPods, probably even louder than them. They have that bass. Maybe it's because of the seal. You do feel more bass, you hear more bass, and it gets loud, which I prefer when I'm working out. So yeah, this is actually surprisingly good, especially for what they're designed for. If you like music that has a lot of bass in it, these are definitely the ones that will make you happy. So I tried calling using these, and although they sounded really clear, according to the person I was talking to, there were times when the call would kind of waver. Basically, it sounded like they were going away from me and then would come back. So my voice would kind of fade away every now and then. Not so much, but it did happen. So in terms of call quality, I would say that the Sound Liberties would be better than this one. So these two have their obvious strengths and weaknesses. Now we have to talk about the price. The Taotronics one, they feel more premium, they look more premium, and they actually are smaller. So in that sense, they're more portable, but they don't sound as good as the Holy Highs. The fit isn't there. Call quality is good though, and they are priced at $49.99 currently right now on Amazon, versus the Holy Highs, I still can't get over that name, which sound much better. The fit is much better. The controls are way, way better. Form factor is okay. The design is maybe, subjective. These are also priced a little bit lower at $42.99, which is, a couple bucks cheaper than this one. So between these two, if I'm trying to find a good pair, these would definitely be my pick. They're cheaper, they sound better, and the fit is much, much better. And my God, the controls are much easier than this. Unfortunately, the controls really just ruin it for me, aside from the fit. It really almost doesn't matter if they sound good or whatever the features are. If they don't fit well in your ears. Before I end this video, again, I would like to say thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing, and also please follow my podcast with fellow creative Chelsea Horn called the Coffee and Creators Podcast. Everything that I've mentioned are going to be in the description below, and also follow me on social media. I will see you guys again pretty soon. So until then, take care.